one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com. Make sure you bookmark that site. I can't stress that enough. westhesportsguy.com for all the latest posts with the NFL offseason coming into full swing. You've got spring training starting in Major League Baseball. The NBA season, NHL seasons are about to be wrapping up soon with the playoffs in the near future. Make sure you bookmark westhesportsguy.com. Always use that hashtag one-on-one-Wes as well to participate in the weekly conversations on all my various social media platforms. You can get those links at, coincidentally, westhesportsguy.com. Delving right into the first topic this week, we got the big trade in Major League Baseball. Finally happened. Mookie Betts has been dealt to the Los Angeles Dodgers from the Boston Red Sox. Here is a breakdown of the trade for you on the screen. You've got Mookie Betts and David Price both going to the Dodgers from the Boston Red Sox. The Minnesota Twins are also involving one of their top prospects, Brusdar Graterol, in the trade, and also giving up a pick in the upcoming MLB draft. The Red Sox will be getting Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, and Connor Wong, all three coming from the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Minnesota Twins in this trade will also get some cash considerations, as you can see, with Kenta Maeda, who has been kind of a wild card for the Dodgers the last few years. Originally brought in to be a starting pitcher, but he's also been playing out of the bullpen a lot. But as the Twins are in pretty, I'm not going to say desperate need of starting pitching, they kind of shored that up in the offseason. They did get another capable starting pitcher in Kenta Maeda. So you look at what the Twins did in the offseason, it's looking pretty good. Not bad at all. Now, same thing with the Red Sox. I mean, even though you can say from their perspective they didn't really win this trade, I think everybody won. Everybody got what they needed. Everybody essentially got what they desired out of this. And Mookie Betts, obviously going in the last year of his contract, is he going to stay with the Dodgers long term? We shall see. He's going to get paid about $27 million going into the final year with arbitration that he got. David Price has 3 years left in his contract. Boston's going to be eating up about half of that salary in this trade to make it all work. Long term, do I see Mookie Betts in the Dodger uniform? Not really. I think he's going to get paid handsomely next offseason. By whom? I have no idea. We can speculate as much as we want right now, but as it stands, this trade means one thing and one thing only for the Dodgers: win or nothing. You have to win a World Series. You can't finish even outside of the World Series. You've got to get there. You've got to get to that series once again. You got to win it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to win. Obviously, this trade was delayed just a little bit as well, with the Red Sox going back and forth with whether or not they wanted Graterol originally, how the trade was brought up. But looking at it, how it finally went down, it took 5 days for it to finally happen. Don't get me started on that. But when you look at how it finally went down at the very end, it needed to happen. You had players that were groaning about whether or not they were or weren't going to get traded, and then you also had a star player in Mookie Betts of whether or not he was actually going to stay with the Red Sox, a team that originally had him his entire career now. He won an MVP award, for goodness sake. But all in all, this had to happen. Boston got something for him. If they didn't do it now, they weren't going to get nearly as much as they got now for Mookie Betts towards the trade deadline. For the second story this week, the XFL has returned.
This is the XFL!
No, not that XFL. This XFL. Yes, the XFL gets a redo, essentially, with the newer, sleeker, more streamlined version, you could say. And I have to say, after the results of the first week, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I like what I'm seeing. You've got some pretty good storylines going around with the league in general. You got 8 total teams from what it used to be, with the usual LA franchise. You had a New York, New Jersey franchise, you could say as well. That was like shared. I don't know why they shared it, but going back to what it is now, you got 8 teams again. A little bit of a sleeker look with a little bit of the design logos. I've already said my piece about how the new logos are not up to par as the old ones, but you can go check that out here on YouTube. Just search XFL. It's right there. But looking at it going forward, the way the product is, I'm impressed. You actually have kickoff returns. Kickoff returns are back, and it's amazing to see. And basically the rule stipulation is players cannot advance to go block or hit each other until the receiver actually gets the football and begins to do whatever he's going to do. If it's a touchback, it's a touchback. No big deal. But I'm seeing more kickoff returns in just the first week of the XFL than I have the entire NFL season. Isn't that saying something? That's the one thing that I'm excited about. But then the other thing is that you're seeing some pretty good defensive play happening out there, which I wasn't expecting to see. I was expecting to see a lot of high-scoring affairs. It really didn't happen. That could change as the season rolls around. It's a 10-game schedule. You got 4 teams in each division, how they have it set up, to make the playoffs. And then you have a championship game at the end. I think this is a product that could last. Yeah, the ratings are right up there with what the AAF, the Alliance of American Football, had last season, and then it just tailed off after that. They didn't even finish their first inaugural season. They're gone. See you. But this XFL version, I think, can also surpass what it did the first time. It did complete one season. It had a championship game and everything. It will surpass that, I believe. And just to go along with what the storylines were, you also have a possibility of players having a sort of tryout before it gets to be the draft. For the upcoming NFL draft, you have a player whose name escapes me right now playing for the St. Louis Battlehawks, who's a safety. He's a highly touted prospect. I'm not saying he's a first-round pick, not a sure thing, obviously, but he's definitely regarded as a top pick as far as his position goes in safety. And seeing him play in his first week for the St. Louis Battlehawks, I thought he was rather good, to be honest with you. So this is also a good thing for players that are either, ineligible for whatever reason in NCAA football. Obviously, for the serious stuff, that's a different story, but the XFL has those policies in place for, player conduct and so forth. So this player getting a shot here in the XFL for X amount of games before it becomes time for the NFL draft, more power to him. I think this is great. This is a good springboard to see how he can do here and if it translates to the NFL. Only positives for the XFL going forward. That's what I see. Time for the segment that doesn't mind being your Valentine this weekend. Do you remember?
You remember?
Do you remember back before I took my long break over Christmas and New Year's about how the Houston Astros sign stealing when the investigation was complete, how I wanted absolute transparency. I wanted just everything out there. I wanted it all to be in the public eye. I wanted it to be as open and honest as it possibly could be. Well, we kind of did get that. To the degree that we didn't have the second guessing, the naysayers and so forth about, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? Well, baseball outlined it for you in the investigation. If you actually read the investigation, which was only a few pages long, you could see that they went through their due diligence and found as much as they possibly could, tried to get as much information as they could out of players, not just organization hires and GMs and owners and so forth. They actually interviewed players as well. Yes, the only player mentioned in the report was Carlos Beltran at the time for the Houston Astros in 2017. Now was going to be the manager of the New York Mets. That ended up falling through. He didn't even manage a game, and the Mets said, thanks, but no thanks. Time to go. But looking at how the reaction has been so far with this sign stealing, whether or not all the information was put forth, why didn't they look at this? I tend to side with Major League Baseball in this aspect of it. Sure, you could be the cynic and the conspiracy theorist, if you want to call that, and say they didn't want to out them for everything that they did because they all do it. Well, if that was the case, then the way some of these players are reacting to the Houston Astros, they would be reacting about a lot of other teams and players if it wasn't just for Mike Fiers, who decided to, quote-unquote, blow the whistle on this whole sign stealing thing after the fact. And then there's been criticism going on Mike Fiers about whether or not he wanted to do enough when he was with the team in the Houston Astros, which is a valid question, but I'm willing to say that if he didn't put his name to this report during the offseason, you wouldn't have even gotten this kind of outcome in the first place. So for the players that want to see more punishment on fellow players, you wouldn't have gotten to this point without Mike Fiers putting his name to this in the report for the Athletic. You would have never seen this if his name wasn't on that report. And that's some credit to him for that. Because if you don't put your name to the story, if you don't have a credible source, in a lot of news stories, not just with sports, but anything in general. If there's no credible source to anything, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. But all in all, Major League Baseball, I think, went about this the right way, the only way, really, that they could. Because, yes, the players want these other ones to be punished, with the Houston Astros mainly. But look at it this way. You're part of the Major League Baseball Players Association. It's a huge union and a very powerful union, I would say. Probably the most powerful in sports in general. It's not going to get surpassed anytime soon. Do you honestly believe that these players would have been punished a single game, let alone an inning, without the defense of the union for any of this terrible stuff when it comes to sign stealing? Do you think they would have been punished? Honestly, your union would have backed them to hell and high water. There's no way I would have seen any of these players getting punished. Not a chance. And to the Dodger fans, the Dodger players, the Dodger organization, those that decide to speak out and just say the Astros stole the World Series, they should give it back, they don't deserve it, this and that. Keep in mind, Major League Baseball is investigating the Boston Red Sox for pretty much similar actions in 2018. And if my memory serves me correct, I believe the Boston Red Sox did beat the Dodgers in the World Series in 2018 as well. You just made a trade to get two players from that former championship team in Boston, in Mookie Betts and David Price. What if the exact same thing is found to have happened with the Boston Red Sox that year? Are you going to treat Mookie Betts and David Price with the same respect? Or are you going to treat them exactly the same way that you did with the Houston Astros with this sign stealing? How's that going to work out, Dodgers? It'd be interesting to see. Time for my feel-good story of the week, and this comes from Noah Woods.
Well, Channel 2's Wendy Corona talked to him today.
Hi, my dad. I don't know where the flame came from.
Noah Woods knew something wasn't right and also knew he had to do something.
Pick Lily up, got the window with Lily, get the dog, and got out. I got myself out.
Bartow County Fire Rescue confirmed it was an electrical fire that started Sunday morning from an outlet in the room Noah shares with his 2-year-old sister Lily. Fire tape is still up all around the Kingston home. It was after Noah got his sister, the dog, and himself out of that window that he then ran up those stairs to alert his uncle to help get everyone else out of the house.
If it went for Noah, then we wouldn't. We was all asleep, so we wouldn't have known what was going on. So we could have all lost our life.
The only injury, a small burn Noah showed me on his wrist. The extended family of 9 did not have insurance, but told me the community is helping them pull together clothing. David Woods is a contractor and hopes to rebuild and get the family back in soon. He considers this time together a blessing.
Nobody got hurt. We got smoked up a little bit, but we're all still alive.
That was Channel 2's Wendy Corona reporting. A GoFundMe page has been set up to help the family. Also, we put a link to that GoFundMe page on our website, WSBTV.com.
I salute you, Noah, and that is a true definition of a hero right there, to rescue your entire family. Unfortunately, the house was a loss. But if you would like to donate, if you can donate, I will leave a link to their GoFundMe page. As you saw in that news story, I'll leave a link in the description below. If you would be so kind, if you would like to make a donation, you can go there, follow that link in the description below. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go to westthesportsguide.com, bookmark that site. I can't stress that enough. With baseball season coming up, it's going to be jam-packed, constantly going into springtime. Use that hashtag #OneOnOneWest as well. Subscribe, hit that bell, all that good stuff here on the channel. Until then, I will see you next time.